Welcome to Natural Habitat Adventures, Daily Dose of Nature. Today's topic, class acridnia, introducing our eight-legged neighbors. Part 1, presented by NatHab Expedition Leader, Melissa Silva. I'm your host, Rob Mess. Thank you all so much for joining us here today. Over to you, Melissa.
Thank you, Rob. Hello, everybody. So, welcome and thank you for being here in this webinar. So, let me start from a little bit of an introduction of myself. I'm a marine biologist. So, basically, all of my professional life and personal life, I've been focused like in marine environments, in the ocean, in the coast of Mexico. Uh, and I have been trying to be away from many legged animals. Those are not like my most favorite ones, but well, of course, butterflies are an exception, but still, it's funny to feel their little legs on you. Today I brought this webinar because I think it's very important to learn and to get to know the other species that we are not so familiar with, and that sometimes they have very bad reputation. So with this webinar, with this series of webinars, this first part and the second coming, I will try to give you a little bit more information so you uh, know the group, and by knowing it, you get to accept them, if not love them, but just to understand why they are here, why they are important. So if we start from the very beginning, I want to tell that arachnids are not insects. Sometimes when we say, "Oh, it's a spider, it's an insect," or when we think on of an insecticide, we think that they will kill arachnids or they will kill scorpions, for example, that are like the most known ones. But well, insects are a different group within the animal kingdom, and I will explain you a little bit of that right now. So we have these taxas right here. Every division in the classification of life is named a taxon or taxa in plural. And what what I will focus today with this group, with this webinar, is in the section of phylum or phylum, class, and orders. So we have on the right side of this image the example of our species, of the Homo sapiens. Uh, we are animals, we are primates, we are hominids, but we are chordates. We belong to the phylum Chordate. We belong to the class Mammals, and we are in the order primates or primates with other apes, for example. So there are some subdivisions within the phylums and the classes and the families. So today I will mention something named subphylum and something named superorder. Okay, so why insects and arachnids are so similar? That's because they belong to the phylum Arthropoda. They are arthropods. They have jointed appendages, so they have flexible legs, flexible antennas in the case of insects. They have an exoskeleton. They don't have a neural cord. So they have this exoskeleton, the cuticle, made out of chitin instead of keratin. Our hair, for example, our nails is made out of keratin. But in arthropods, in invertebrates, it is made out of chitin. They have segmented body and they have bilateral symmetry. Within the phylum Arthropoda, we can find crustaceans, for example, shrimps. We can find the horseshoe crabs, and of course, any insect you can think of: butterfly, dragonflies, beetles, and any arachnids you might know, like spiders or mites, or some others that I will mention in a moment. So there's a subdivision, there's a division within the phylum Arthropoda, and those are the subphylum, well, the ones that I will mention, the Mandibulata and the Chelicerata. and that basically refers to the mouth part of these animals. The insects, the class Insecta, belong to the subphylum Mandibulata, and the arachnids belong to the subphylum Chelicerata. I will explain in a moment more on that. Another difference, very easy to most of the times to see, is that insects have three parts in their body. It's divided in three: head, thorax, and abdomen. And the arachnids, all of the arachnids, but some are not so easy to tell, they have their body divided into two parts only: the prosoma and the ophistosoma, that is more commonly known as the phallothorax, on the area where the head is, and the abdomen, the rest of the body. Another way to make a differentiation or to compare arachnids from with insects is that arachnids have eight. Arachnids have 8 legs, meanwhile insects have 6 legs. Okay, and also something very important is that the insects have antennas, and they have compound eyes, and a lot of the groups within the class Insecta, most of the species of the Insecta group have wings. There are some that have lost them, but most of them have wings. But the way to tell one from the other is the big compound eyes and the 2 antennae in the head. So the subphylum Chelicerata has the name because of the first pair of appendages on the head, that is called the chelicera. So basically, those are the homologous of the mandibles on the Insecta group. So the chelicera, I will go deeper in a moment on that. And then right next to that, another very important part that if you count the appendages on the spiders, for example, you might count 10. So you might take these two front appendages as legs, but actually they are called pedipalps, and those are sensory organs that all the arachnids have. So that's something in common within the group, the class Arachnida. So speaking of the Chelicera, there are in general 3 main types of Chelicera. The jackknife type, which is the one that we can find, for example, on spiders, on true spiders that are basically like fangs. The 3-segmented Chelicera that we can find in, for example, the Amblypygid or the Vinegaruns. They have this kind of Chelicera. And the scissor-like that we can find in general terms in mites or in acaries in general. I will go deeper in that moment with that group. So basically those are the variety of Chelicera that we can find, but still within every one of the groups here, each one of the orders here, we can find modifications of this Chelicera. So it's something very, very neat to study, and there are actually researchers that are focused only on the modifications of a specific group of arachnids on the Chelicera. So this is what I was mentioning, the jackknife type Chelicera. This is a Schizomira, and you can see the twister-like Chelicera that they have. This harvestman, you can see the little eye right here, and then if you follow my laser that I'm pointing out, the 3 first legs, the 2 first legs here, and then this third leg-like appendage that is whitish or yellowish is actually the pedipalp, the sensory appendage that they have. And this other here, this thing over here, huge and even broader than and longer than the legs, is actually the Chelicera of this species of Opilion. Is the genera of this Opiliones. The order, I mean. So you can see the adaptation so different they have for well, for different purposes I will mention in a moment. And this is a camel spider. You can see a scissor-like chelicera that they have. So well, this is something very amazing within the group. And the other appendage, the other pair of appendages that they have is the pedipalps that I mentioned, that we might sometimes take as legs, and they have different uses. They have variety of uses even with the in the same group of arachnids, in the same different order of arachnids. We have pedipalps that are adapted, for example, to be a way of defense, like on the scorpions. We have pedipalps adapted to the mating process, like in some types of true spiders and in a group named Ricynulae. And there are some others that are adapted only, for example, to clean the face or the fangs of some species of spiders, or to hold the F case that some spiders or some other arachnids may have. So there's a variety of use that they have for pedipalps, and I will describe a little bit on each of the groups. So we don't go like very deep into each one of the orders of arachnids. I wanted to give you the generalities of this class. So basically, most of them are terrestrial. We have some exceptions in a couple of species of aquatic spiders, like real spiders, several species of mites that are aquatic, like the one here on this little photo here. And well, most of the other groups are basically terrestrial. They are found on land. They have a respiratory system named book lungs. Basically, it's another like a folding of this tissue that they have, and the air goes in. I will explain you in a moment about that, because it's something well, very similar to like a very primitive lung of a human. You will see the similarity on that. And other groups, they have tracheas like most of the invertebrates. They have a cosmopolitan distribution. That means that we will find them anywhere in the world except for the Antarctica, basically. They can live. Actually, I was just doing a little bit of deeper research, and there are some mites that can adapt to the permafrost soil. So with this global warming, with the climate change thing, they have found some mites adapting to warmer conditions in the permafrost area on the North Pole. So I think it was on Siberian permafrost. So basically cosmopolitan, anywhere in the world. Most of them are solitary. They can be actually very aggressive to other arachnids, to other co-specifics. But in some other groups, they can get together for different reasons, rather protection, mating, or well, I will mention a very specific species that actually has a colony organization very similar to the insects. I will show you. Most of them are predators. We can say like 90% of them are predators, but there are some that are parasites, and those are they have medical importance for humans. I'm pretty sure you know who they are. Some of them, they can have or not poison venom glands in their bodies. They can have or they cannot have silk glands as well. They can or not have a repulsive gland to expel, in this case, acid or some bad odors for scare away predators. The reproduction is through the transfer of the spermatophore. The spermatophore is like a sac, like a vase, not very solid, but it contains all the sperm, the spermatozoa, and it most of the times they put the males put the spermatophore outside of their body, and then they attract the female to that after a courtship in some of them, or with a reproductive pedipalp, like the ones I was mentioning on the spiders, the adaptations they have. They can kind of like give that gift to the female. So, but this transfer is completely external. They don't have like an internal intercourse when mating. And in some species, they present parental care. So I will mention some of those as well. I consider that to be very cute, honestly. So the very first that I will go deep on this group of characteristics is the respiratory systems, the respiratory organs that they have. So basically, since arthropods in general don't have blood, here I hope you can see where I'm circling that I just cross the word blood. They have something named hemolymph. In Spanish is easier, hemolympha, and that's it. So the hemolymph is basically a mix of proteins and minerals and other nutritious substances that they need in their body, but it's floating free within the body, in the body cavity. They do have some organs. They have like intestine or the ovaries or the testes that they produce the sexual gametes, and some groups of arachnids present a little bit more evolved or complex way for breathing, that is the book lungs. So you can see, I hope you can see clearly this diagram from a spider, along from a spider. So basically they have an operculum here where the air comes in. They don't actively do like an inhalation. So what they do is that they kind of like pump their body in and out, and that change of pressure keeps the air flowing in and out. So well, the air comes in, it goes through these cavities here where the internal body cavity goes, creating these layers that are called lamella. And in that area is where the hemolymph makes this gas exchange, because they do breathe oxygen like us. So basically, that's the way they have this lung adapted, or this trachea modified into a lung-like organ. So well, I found that to be very, very interesting. And going a little bit more into what I will share today with you, in the class Arachnida, we have a little bit more than 100,000 species with an identification, with a register on the nature book that the scientists gave name and last name. So with this amount of species, we have, of course, a diversity of shapes, sizes, habitats, behaviors, feeding behaviors. So in general, they can be anything you want. These are more or less like Barbie. They can be anything they want, because they can be either diurnal or nocturnal. They can have a free life, so being on their own, or they can be parasites depending on a host. They can be predators. They can eat they can be herbivores, phytophagous, omnivores. They can eat basically anything, or they can eat only dead animals, or dead matter, dead soils. In for example, the soil that is under the leaf, they will eat that dead matter under the leaf. And they can, as I mentioned before, they can be terrestrial, living above ground or living underground. and some of them can be aquatic. So it is, we consider that there are 11 orders of arachnids, but in some areas they consider to be 12 or up to 15, 14, 15 extant orders, plus the 4 extinct orders of arachnids that we have. In this specific webinar, I will share only 7 of these orders because doing the research, there's a lot of information that it will take more time than we have. So let's start with the order Acari, with the ticks and mites. I'm pretty sure if you have a furry pet, if you have dogs, cats, hamsters, basically anything, because if you have snakes, snakes are also parasited by mites, by ticks. So I'm pretty sure you know about these animals here. And these are my least favorite, but now I am loving them a little bit more. Nowadays, we have about 50,000 species. Is the most diverse group, is the most abundant group in the world of arachnids. So we registered, we know there are 50,000 or so of species, but the estimations, the studies that these acarologists have done is that there can be more than 900,000, so more like 1 million of species is probable. And their length, the range varies from less than 1 millimeter to up to 20 millimeters, that is almost 1 inch for the giant red velvet mite. So it's, because it's just completely diverse. So through all the webinar, we will see this diagram, and it will show you like the different parts of the arachnid that I'm explaining in that moment. So remember, they have 4 pairs of legs. They have the pedipalp. They have chelicera, and then their body is divided in the prosoma and the opistosoma, which is the cephalothorax and the abdomen. But with the Acari group, it's very difficult to tell where one starts and when the other starts. When one finishes and the other starts. What we do, what the taxonomists do, is that they consider where the legs are is the prosoma, and where there are no legs is the opistosoma. That's like the easy way to tell. Another way to tell, like the part of this arachnid, is the mouth part is named gnatosoma, and the other part, the rest of the body, is the agiosoma. So there's a bunch of gnatosoma where the chelicera and the pedipalps are, the mouth part of the Acari. There's a bunch of them, and they have very different functions. The most known one is the one that drinks the blood from other animals, from warm-blooded animals. Well, or spiders that are not. I say snakes that are not warm-blooded. But they are bloodsuckers. And it's so amazing. I was very impressed by how they move their pedipalp out, kind of like to attach and to put this saliva, the anticoagulant saliva, and they can go with the chelicera into the skin and suck out the blood of their prey, of the host. So, well, as I mentioned, there are like 11 orders within the Arachnida, but in the Acari order, I have the code marks, because they are not considered a group or an order with a common ancestor. So they sometimes divide this into 2 superorders, the Acariformes and the Parasitiformes. And there are some physical differences that they use to put one mite or one tick into one or another. But basically, it's like the body shape and the position of the legs and the chelicera, more or less. Despite the name Parasitiformes, not all of the individuals that are here are parasites. Neither all of the individuals here are free living. So there are parasites in either of these superorders. So it's a little bit more complex than it looks. So the way I started loving this a little bit more is because they are very important in aquatic media is the habitat. They are predators on some mosquito larvae. So they actually help us to control the mosquito population. This is an article that I found about the biodiversity of water mites. And it's just something very, very cool. You can go and take a look on that. The abstract is free to read. And another one that I found to be super important is that they are using them, the aquatic mites, as bioindicators of the water health of an ecosystem. So they are way more important than I expected. And well, I think I like them a little bit more than before. So the next order I will share is the Arane, the true spider. There are more or less 50,000 species. We have a variety of ranges. You can see the Goliath tarantula, like super big. And then we have a new, well, not so new, 2009 described genus, the Patu genus, that is 1/5 of a pinhead. It's super mini tiny. This is the most well-known arachnid. So it's like the one that you give as an example when you mention arachnid. So as a variety of sizes, shapes, colors, they also have a big variety of eyes, disposition, and they also have a wide variety of chelicera. So all of these here, all these examples you can see are different examples of chelicera, of the fangs they have, and the eyes, how they are distributed. So they divide the spiders, the true spiders, in two groups, the orthognaths and the lapidognaths. So basically, it's how their fangs are, the position they have, if they are facing like down or if they are facing to each other. And well, if you want to know more about the spider, the venom and the evolution of venom in spiders, check this article. It's very, very interesting, very nerdy, very extensive. Another thing that is very popular and very well known for the on the Arane order is the web. Once again, there's a lot of information. There's a bunch of diversity. I won't go any deeper on that. But what I wanted to mention is that all of these articles are from last year, this year. You can see here 22, 23, and they are still studying them for different applications, biomedical, even aerospatial applications. So you can go on Scholar Google and say spider silk, write down spider silk, and you will have a bunch of these articles with very incredible information. The order Scorpiones, or the scorpions that we all know, is also a very diverse group, but basically they don't look the same, but they have different sizes. More or less 2,000 species recognized, and they can be found up to 5,000 meters, more or less 16,000 feet. There are actually a couple of species recently found 3-4 years ago on the Himalayan area. So well, they can adapt very well. And we also have micro scorpions in this group, less than half of an inch, found in, this was found in Samoa, if I remember correctly. So once again, a very similar disposition with the adding of metasoma area that it's on the abdomen area, on the pistosoma. So the same 8 legs, 2 pedipalps, 2 chelicera, and then they have an extra little modification, but not such as an appendage, that is called the pectin or pectines. And these are chemo and mechanosensors for their daily life, but also for reproductive meanings. So the genitalia area is right above the pectin area, and taxonomists can actually use the pectins and the genital operculum to classify them, to know which species this belongs to. Something very, very cute, very nice about scorpions is that they actually have like a mating dance, like a nuptial dance, in which the male and the female are doing these movements back and forth. And I don't want to say kissing each other because that's very anthropocentric, but they are like touching their mouth parts and their pedipalps. And then when the male is ready, he puts the spermatophore on the ground right here, as you can see, and the female will go and with the pectins will go in and put the spermatophore inside here, and they have an internal incubation. Once the babies hatch inside the body, they will be born outside of the mother and they will climb up on the back. After the first molt, when they have their shell, their exoskeleton a little bit harder, they will start moving out and being free and away, no more parental care. So this is something very, very interesting that I think is as well very cute. And we find this kind of behavior in many of the big arachnids. I will show you in a moment. Okay, so this group is very interesting, and we know very, very little of that. Is the Palpigradi order, or the microwhip scorpions. We know less than 100 species because most of them live in caves. So the conditions to study them there are very difficult, or even to find them. They are super tiny. Something very curious in this group is that the first leg is modified to act as an antenna or as the source of information. Meanwhile, the palps, the pedipalps, are used for walking. And being living in a cave, they are blind. So well, these two adaptations are very interesting in this group. And then they have this flagellum here that we still don't know, researchers still don't know what's the function of that. As I mentioned, very little is known. One of the most recent articles that I found about Palpigradi is this one from 21, Global Distribution of Microwhip Scorpions. So they basically did this research where they put all together the information that is in the world available on the amount of species that have been described for each area in the world. So you can go and check and get a little bit more information on that. This other group is very cool, the short-tailed whip scorpions, and it also is very, very unknown. It is not very well or deep studied. This one here pretty much has the typical characteristic of any arachnid. The first pair of legs, once again, those are sensorial legs. And then what makes them a little bit different from the others is that they actually have different, we can say this is a telson or the last part of the abdomen, like a tail, but it's a very short tail. So it is modified to in males and in females for reproduction matters. This order actually has a very important, if not complex, way of taking care of their young. The female will dig a nest, and she will stay there for the time the eggs are incubation, and then when the babies hatch, the babies will stay on the mother abdomen, opistosoma, for 1 or 2 molts. So it's a very, very special group that also has been explored by very few people. Another article here that you can go and check to get further information. And this is one of my favorites, the pseudoscorpions or pseudoscorpiones. They are called book scorpions because they have been found a lot in your bookshelves if you have been lucky enough to see them. There are a little bit more than 3,000 species, And despite the name and despite a lot of people thinking they are a pest on their books, they don't eat books. They are predators and they have venom. So this is one of the most amazing groups in the arachnids for me. And they are actually beneficial for humans because they predate most larvae, the ones that eat our clothes. They predate on bug lice, ants, mites, and carpet beetle larvae. So basically, the things that are harming us, let's say, or being in a habitat, they will predate on those. And as I mentioned, they have venom glands in the pedipalps, and they have it's kind of like a weird disposition, but they have silk glands in the chelicera. So if you remember this mouth part here, they will have a silk gland in there. So basically, they spit out the silk, and they use this silk to make some nests. So most of the book scorpions, the pseudoscorpions, are solitary, but in Spain, this researcher found a species that is actually colonial, is the one I was mentioning on the beginning. And this is something that just blew my mind because they have these colonies under the bark of some trees or under the rocks from 30 to 40 individuals, but they have found up to 100 individuals. So with the silk they produce, they make this nest, like you can see on this image on the left, and they have division of activities, very much like the insects. Remember, these are not insects; these are arachnids. So they have divisions saying that there's a group of pseudoscorpiones that are cleaning the area. There's another group that is taking care of the babies. The mothers are taking care of the babies. The nympha, the young ones, like this one here I'm pointing out, they are helping everyone. They are like helping the cleaners, helping the ones taking care of the babies, and they hunt in groups. They attack the prey in group, a bigger prey than them, and they actually take care of the young by covering them when there's a danger nearby, or by giving them the first meal, offering the prey first to the clutches or the very young ones. So they are something that we call extremely social, but no hierarchy, like ants or like bees, that they have a queen and they have this and that, and only the queen mates. No, with the pseudoscorpions, all of the females mate, and all of the tribe or the clan or the family there, the colony, it's doing a labor, it's doing something on the same level, let's say. And something that these researchers saw, this is the article that I found, all this information. They saw they took the colony to the lab to make more observations, and they saw that when the newborns, when the hatchlings are hungry, they start fighting each other and they start eating the weaker. And then the mother, the mother pseudoscorpion, she basically calls them. They describe the behavior like moving the pedipalps like this, like up and down, moving very, very strongly. And in one moment, she puts the pedipalps egg, and all the babies come and eat her. So when they eat the female, the mother, they kind of like change their behavior and they start to be more cooperative to each other and looking for food instead of eating among them. So it was something very, very amazing, and very few people is researching on that. So you can see they are like super tiny. They are living underground, in the bookshelf inside the book. So they have a very wide distribution. They are found all around the world. And researchers were thinking like how they were moving, how they were finding these new habitats. So they found this an association, this a behavior, phorese, or forest eye. And basically, the phoretic association, as I explained here, is when a little animal takes a hitchhike from a bigger animal, from a bigger being. So we see a phoretic distribution, for example, in a lot of seeds that they get attached to your clothes or to the fur of our pets. And then in this way, they will distribute, they will disperse in other areas. So this is something that they found out in the specifically the Pseudoscorpiones. So another order that is very interesting and is actually very well known because it's very popular among the people that like to have arachnids as pets, or these exotic pets in general, is the Vinegaruns, the Liphonida order. There's more or less 120 species, and most of them, the highest diversity is on the Southeast Asia area. They are very well known for the glands that they have to produce the, I forgot the acid for the vinegar. Is the same acid as the vinegar, together with another two. But in general, this is only used when they feel under danger, when they feel attacked, to scare away the predators. So here you can see this little finger there disturbing the Vinegarun, and the Vinegarun is sending all this stinky vinegar liquid. It's harmless, completely harmless, and that's why I'm telling you that it's one of the most popular pets. So Vinegaruns have a very complex mating process, very similar to the one of the scorpions, where they have like this ritual when the male touches the female and they are kind of like dancing. And at the very end, when the female and male are ready, the female will go right here. I hope you can see in the middle of the slide. The female goes underneath male, just kind of like to make a stimulation for the male to lay the spermatophore that has a very weird shape. And then once the spermatophore is on the ground, they will change positions, and then the male will help the female to put the spermatophore inside the body and release the sperm in the body. So they don't really get like the whole thing inside, the whole spermatophore, but half of it, and then they get the sperms in the cavity. Pretty much like that. Very graphic. And they do have also parental care. So the female will get the eggs attached in a sac, a very thin skin sac under the abdomen, under the opistosoma. And when the hatchlings are born, they will go on top of mom, and they will get for their exoskeleton to harden, and then they will be free to live. So there's a lot of information in many websites about this group, because as I said, they are very popular for to have them as pets. So that would be it with this part. On the next webinar, we will see these 4 groups, but there's a lot of other things to mention about this. So, well, I'm going back to you, Rob.
All right, thank you so very much. Now, I would like to remind everyone that if you do have a question, you can submit it via the question field in your control panel. As of right now, though, we don't have very many questions yet, so unless somebody has something they would like to add right now, I'm going to throw it back to you, Melissa, for some closing comments.
Okay. Not surprising. Yeah, well, basically, I really enjoy doing this webinar for you all. It's, I mean, it's something very interesting. We are not very used to appreciate these animals as they should, as we should. So hopefully you can get more. How was that? You got paused on the webinar of these beautiful animals. And just remember, every animal deserves an opportunity to be appreciated.
One question, Melissa. If we were on a trip visiting you, would we see any of these spiders that you talked about?
There's, yes. Yeah, I mean, they are found anywhere. I mean, if you take a close look in one corner of your house or in your garden, for example, if you take a close look under the bark, a humid bark in your garden with a magnifier, I'm 80%, 75% positive that you will see either a pseudoscorpion or well, of course, some acari, some mites that are free living. But I mean, it's just you have to keep your eyes more open, way more open, because they are so tiny. You can see, and they live basically anywhere in the world, anywhere in our houses. So, yep. I mean, I've seen some spiders where I've been guiding and hiking and everything, harmless and very beautiful colors. So usually those are the ones that we are more aware of and looking for instead of the little tiny ones. But yeah, pretty much you can see them.
We got a couple more questions. How deadly is a scorpion sting?
Okay, so basically it depends on the species, as everything in biology. Some people say that if you see the pedipalp being wider or narrower, it's more or less venomous. But sometimes they actually sting you without releasing the venom. So you can say like, oh well, they sting me, but it was harmless. And then sometimes they are very tiny or whatever, and they sting you, but they inject all the venom, and they can be deadly. So it depends on the species. It depends if the scorpion already sting the venom in a prey, for example, so they won't have enough venom for the human. But in general terms, for example, the big black scorpions that a lot of people have as pets, they are some of the less harmful. And the ones that you can see, for example, here in Mexico, in Durango, we have one of the most venomous, and it's something like this, like 2 inches long. So it pretty much depends on the species and your sensitivity, if you are like allergic to the compounds of this venom.
Are there a lot of different spiders that are fatal to humans if bit?
There are what, sorry?
Are there many different spiders that are fatal to humans if you are bit by one?
No, I think there are like 30, from 30 to 50 species in the world that are deadly to humans. The ones that we can be in contact more, like in a city, in our house, with a garden, is the Loxosceles reclusa, which is the black widow, of course, and there's a brown widow as well, and the Loxosceles one, that is the one that has a violin on the head. So those are the ones that we, I think it's brown recluse in English. Those are the ones that can be potentially deathful for humans because they are in our homes. So, but usually they are like in the corner, or they are, well, if you leave a shoe under the wardrobe or somewhere there, it would be a perfect nesting area. So basically just like cleaning your home and keeping not a lot of humid places, that would keep you safe. But yeah, in general terms, those would be the ones that I remember seeing to be a problem, air quoting, for humans.
Is there some sort of physical indicator that I can look at and see a spider? Oh, that has to be poisonous because it has something specific on it.
No, it's very difficult because since they are, I mean, of course, black widows have the red clock on the ventral area. The brown widows, for example, they have like these symmetric lines on the back of the pistosoma. The other one, the brown recluse, I think, is the one that has like a violin here, but there are some very similar that are completely harmless. So well, it's. I mean, I wouldn't recommend to try to identify one just like, oh, would it be not? Just consider all of them to be um respectful. Just keep them keep us away from them because there's not like a certain, you will have to be a taxonomist just to really know like, oh, the position of the pedipalp is like this, and if it's like this it's a venomous one, but if it's closer is not. So that would be something that I can say like, oh, it's kind of difficult.
I'm not sure if this is on topic. Do we know why scorpions glow?
Oh yeah, that's something very cool. They have a special protein in their exoskeleton that I cannot remember the name right now, but that makes their skin, their exoskeleton, to glow under the UV light. It's just a protein that they have. They still don't know why. Um, they assume it is for protection from predators or maybe a way of communication. They don't know. Researchers still don't know the reason of that.
Great. Well, thank you so much for answering a few last minute questions, Melissa. And thank you so much for taking the time to present for us today.
Thank you.
And I'd also like to thank everyone who tuned in today. Now, if you're interested in information on how you can travel with NatHab, please give us a call at the number on your screen. Or you can send us an email at info@nathab.com. Our adventure specialists are happy to help you out. Join us tomorrow for our next Daily Dose of Nature. You can check out this week's lineup, including registration links, on our website at nathab.com/webinars. We did record today's presentation, and we will have the replay available on our website soon. With that, I will conclude the webinar. Goodbye, everybody. We will see you next time.